Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria 3 and a whole new series. Victoria 3 is set during the Victorian era going from 1836 to 1936, 100 years of human and cultural development through war, peace and prosperity, colonialization and technological breakthroughs. I spent most of the day playing around with this game, getting to use the mechanics. I have spent most of the day playing around with this game, getting used to the mechanics and how they play as Belgium, as you can see with the continue button. One of the nations recommended by the game to play as when you're first starting out. There's going to be a lot to unpack, so bear with me as I do that and do my best attempt to explain it all as I understand it. Don't take my word as gospel, as I'm sure there will be mistakes being made or stuff that I am doing wrong, which is a given. When you go into new game, you are given a few options to choose from. Learn the game, economic dominance, hegemony, egalitarian society, or sandbox. Under each of these you have nations you can choose to play. Under learn the game, you have Sweden, Belgium, Chile, and Cape Colony, aka South Africa. Under this one I have played 2 of the 4 nations that are available, Chile and Belgium. And so far I have enjoyed playing as Belgium a lot more than I did Chile. Under economic dominance, you have the United States, Great Britain, Ottoman Empire, and Brazil. For hegemony, we have Prussia, Spain, Japanese Shogunate, and Egypt. For the egalitarian society, we have France, Russia, Great Qing Dynasty, and Mexico. And the final one is Sandbox, and Sandbox allows you to play as whomever you wish to play as. So for our series, we're going to be playing as one, I think we might play as, we're going to play as France. Now the reason why I'm choosing France is there is a chance for us to get involved with wars on the European mainland, which is what I want to show off. I'm not confident enough yet to play as a hegemony. Alright, so research or technology. The way it works in this game, unlike Hearts of Iron 4 or Stellaris, where the former gets a technology tree and at least 2 or more research slots, or the latter, which is technologies under 3 different categories. In Victoria 3, there's 3 branches. You have production, military, and society. Under production, you get the technologies that help with production output for your facilities, whether they be a resource like a farm or mine, or a glass factory. Under military, well, it's pretty straightforward. You get the tech to improve upon your military, whether it's to improve weapons, tactics, boost to army recruitment, employable populations, or navy, and later air forces, as you can see down here with military aviation. Then finally, you have society, which is everything to do with banking, politics, both home and abroad, health reforms, political ideology, law, and the arts. Arts are quite important. I will cover that later. First thing we're going to do, because we are who we are, I am going to go for human rights. Now the way technology works in this game is you can only research one item at a time. However, because we're playing as France, we're rubbing shoulders with Spain, Turin, Switzerland, and a bunch of other European nations. And those that we're in proximity to, we also get the technology from. So if London or if Britain was to research, say, nationalism, because we're in close proximity to them and we've got trade routes that connect up to them, we will get that technology. Though it probably won't be at the same time as them, we'll get it eventually. Whereas if you're playing as something as Chile, way over here, you start off not only with less technology, but you get it a lot slower because you're in a on the other side of the world, and not a lot of ships can travel that far. So it's actually good to play as a European nation because you actually get a lot of technology pretty quickly. But yeah, so being in proximity with other nations, and when they research that technology, you also get it. And the other thing too, I believe, is the rate of which you research it. For us, this is going to take us 9 years. However, I believe the more countries that are working on a technology, or there's more things connected up to said technology, faster it's going to get, the faster it will unlock. Here you have your on the left hand side here, you've got a bunch of pop-up, or a bunch of menus. Here you have your politics. This is your overview. You can see who your leader is and who is supporting them. So at this moment we have the industrialists and the landowners. And in opposition we have the Bonapartist Party, which is the armed forces, Petit Bourgeois, the Republican Party, which is the intelligentsia, which is basically the nerds, and you've also got the Catholic Church and the rural folk. If we go into government proper, you can see it a little bit better. So you can see the amount of people who support each one of the parties, the laws that we can enact, and you can see the approval and disapproval and the don't care rating for each of these laws that we can potentially pass forward. On the laws tab, you can actually go into a little bit more detail about what we have. Well, as you can see here, we've got power structure, economy, and human rights. These can change depending on the people you have in power and how much sway they have. I'll get into that again later on. Institutions. These show us a level of institutions towards certain things. So with colonial affairs, we currently got it at level 1. At level 1, we only get 0.10 colonial growth generation. At level 2, 0.20. Level 3, 0.30, etc, etc, etc. Education, same thing. So education allows for better educated populace, but it also helps with assimilating foreign nationals into your primary cultures. Law enforcement, same thing. Higher the law enforcement, the less chance you get radicals. Radicals come from political parties that don't agree with what you've put forward. So if you put forward something and it is extremely questionable, they'll go, "Arr!" And this helps keep that down. Home affairs, well, that allows this, as you can see, is your conscription rate, the chance of a revolution or secession from happening, or decreasing chance of that from happening, sorry, and the less amount of chance of radicalism from actually happening. The higher these are, essentially the better, but the more it costs. You can see the costs here with bureaucracy. Now we're at minus 8.54 at the moment. Now the only way we can get that up is by building more bureaucratic buildings, which I'll get around to shortly. But you essentially want a positive bureaucracy so you can actually do stuff. Stuff like trades also cost bureaucracy. Yeah, see, trade routes minus 165. So that's the politics tab. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward once you learn the game. It's taken me all day playing as Belgium to get a handle of what's going on. I'm not still fully versed, especially with wars, but that's something we shall explore together. And the budget tab, it shows you the overview, the taxation level, lowest, very high, medium, we're currently on medium. Consumption taxes, we're currently earning 18.4k from the consumption tax on liquor. Now you can add more, however it does cost us authority. As you can see, every time we implement one, it detracts from our authority. If we can increase our authority level, the more we can get. Like if we can tax grain, brilliant, $35,000 into our coffers. But we're not going to do that at the moment. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to see. Here you can see the government wages. That's currently costing us 208k for both the military and the government wages and goods for both. Here you can see it by state. Now it is hard to get it into positive. So at the moment Normandy is costing us 21.4 and it's only earning us 16.3. That's bad. However, it is not impossible to get these into the positives. It's just a lot of work to do it, but it is, as you progress through the game, the easier it becomes. Assets. Well, I didn't understand anything about this when I was playing, but the principle is the total size of loans the treasury has accrued, so not including the interest it owes. If the principal exceeds your credit, you'll go into default. For those who understand that, awesome. If you can explain it to me, awesome. Gold reserves is how much money you've got in reserve. The reserves is a country's weekly budget surplus, which is accumulated in its gold reserves. If the budget balance becomes negative, any money in the gold reserves will be depleted first before the country starts taking loans. The gold reserves can only accumulate up to a fraction of your gross domestic product before diminishing returns set in. Stockpiling gold will eventually lead to depleting your economic engine. If that made any sense to you, sure. I studied economics for a year in high school and I didn't understand a lick of what was being said. I think the only thing I remember is the word dividends. Didn't help that my class was pretty rowdy, but anywho. Buildings! This is the building overview. Here you can see an overview for your buildings and assign the level of production enhancements, let's just call it that, for all the buildings in your provinces of that type. So this is for the urban, so anything you found in an urban environment, like the food industry, textile mills, furniture manufacturers, etc. This is the quick place to come and go and grab. However, you don't want to always do that, so you can actually come into here and see it by region, and then you can, oh no, I don't want that, I want bakeries. But that does drop the money down, so let's just put it back to sweeteners because money. And you can also change the process, etc, etc, and that increases the money output and so forth. So you can see how many there are available in each of these things. And then you've got the rural tab, same thing again. Development, which is your military, your naval bases, your ports, and your railways. Construction, etc. Construction sector, this is how much construction you've got going on. At the moment, we're going to be building iron frame buildings. Those are the modifiers there for those who wish to see them. And if you don't have construction stuff, you can't build anything. So these are the equivalent of the civilian industries and Hearts of Iron 4. The military, if you just go back into that, shows you all the different provinces in here. And here you can see the different organizations. So you've got irregular, line, and skirmish infantry. In terms of tactics, same thing, you change your artillery support, your reconnaissance, specialist companies, and medical aid. Higher the medical aid, the better. It costs more, but you get better returns. So if you're becoming more war hungry, definitely make sure you've got those up, because field hospitals to a 75% recovery rate, that is fantastic. Now, what I like to do personally, I don't like this view. Even though this is a nice quick view, at the moment we're making the maximum amount of money as we possibly can. I don't know if we're making any food. See, harvesting tools, bam, making more money already. Why don't we just do harvesting tools for everyone? There we go. Now, livestock ranches, you can actually choose what you want. So you can have a simple ranch or intensive grazing. I'm actually tempted to make as much money as possible, and they're not using trains. Rail transportation, sometimes they can earn money from rail transportation, sometimes they don't. It's just a matter of experimenting with, there we go, these guys are earning more money if I have them going by rail. Okay, so this is just a complete overview. Now what I like to do is I actually personally like to go into the state province, or the province view, or the state view itself. And the reason being is there's these little bars here. Now when it's gold like that, that normally means that it is ready to be leveled up, which we'll go ahead and do. And down here is the same thing. There's 3 different bars. You have a green bar that slowly fills up, that means people are being employed. Gold bar means that there is a money reserve and they can be ready to be leveled up, and that's what we're doing. We're leveling them up by adding them on. And that is the only time I recommend to actually level them up. If they're going red, it's time to decrease them because there's not a demand for them. Fishing wars, we just see what we got for the time being. I'll just cut through going through all of this, and I'll see you guys on the next tab. Now, just before we go on the next tab, one thing I'd like to add is what I like to do sometimes when I play this game, I've been playing all day, is I like to throw everything I can into the state, and that is not necessarily always a good thing. I just like to throw it in and see what sticks, and what doesn't I demote, and what does I keep. That's not necessarily always a good thing. That is actually it's kind of terrible, because it does cost, every building that you start building does start to cost money. And you need to have a positive bank amount. Going into negatives, no, it's not always a bad thing. It's when your gold reserves go in the negatives that it becomes a problem. On the next tab, we have the market, which is your trading. So you have your staple goods, your industrial goods, your luxury goods, and your military goods. Now, naturally, your military needs guns to be able to fight, so if you're not producing them, you better be importing them, and make sure you do not declare war on the people who are giving you guns. For very obvious reasons. If you don't understand the obvious reasons, then I don't know what to tell you. But here you can see all the goods and what they're worth, etc. Trade routes, you can see all your concurrent routes that you're going on. So at the moment we're currently importing from the United States fabric, and we're also bringing in from Egypt. Wood we're also importing, don't know why. Furniture we're exporting. So we own one of these routes, and these guys are like, hey, we want your stuff as well, and they've gone ahead and bought stuff from us. That's what that means. So your own routes, these are the ones that we've set up. These ones are the ones that Austria and Switzerland have set up, etc, etc, etc. Now, what I personally like to do when I do trading is I actually come down here to the trade lanes, and you can go to export trade routes, and here you have everything that you can potentially export. At the moment we can't export airplanes because we haven't got the technology for it. Same as steamers, or same as with all of these. We don't have any rubber trees, so we can't do that. But if you come here, you can see how much productivity. Now, if it's in the negatives, you don't do it. So even if you're buying the... Let's just pop over to the import trade. Even if you're importing the stuff into the country, you can, if it's positive, you can buy it. Though I like to make sure that it's something over 10 or 20, like dye. If we import 26 dye from the British market into the French market, we get a 26 productivity, which is pretty good. And then we can do it in the Mexican one. Bam. And we can do the Portuguese one. It goes up. Bam. Lovely. Now if we go to export, same thing, just go through, find stuff that earns you big bucks. At this current moment, it's currently our wine, so let's export it to Sweden. But you get the idea. On the next tab we have the military. This is the tab that I kind of understand. At the bottom here you have recruit general, simple enough. You just hit recruit and you click on wherever they are probably needed, and then you just go, right, I would like to recruit you because you're brave and you're an explorer. Bam. Ideally you would recruit a general into each one of these provinces, but each general you recruit costs you money, so we won't do any more than that. If we go back, you can see here all the units that are currently garrisoned with the general in question. Pretty simple. And you can see here we don't have any battalions in these HQs. That is something we can rectify very shortly. And then you have your navy, and that works kind of similar. You can select a convoy which to protect and where they want to go, which is what that does. So you have to know what you want to protect. Here we got patrol coast. So if we want to patrol North Africa, so along this trade route, sure. So if we get any news of piracy, we can press these buttons and they will simply go and do those orders. Next tab, we have the diplomacy. This is our overview. We can declare our interests, which I'll show shortly. We are currently rivals with Great Britain. Greece owes us obligations. We can choose if we want to release subjects, which we're not going to do because we're France. Come down to diplomatic lens. Here we can declare our interests and where we can establish colonies. Now at the top here we have this little icon which says disappearing interests Senegal. So we actually declare our interests. So we can actually re-up where we want to have interests in. Trying to find Senegal. There we go. Boom. We're now getting interested back into Senegal. Now getting interest, declaring interests is essentially how you start the process of colonization. The way you can check where you can colonize is, well, it will tell you where you can establish a colony. So you have North Africa, which we can go. Let's just boom. So all these areas now we're going to start colonizing, and it's going to tell you how many days it's going to take for us to land there, and then for every colony that's done, you can actually see it slowly start to expand. Now, what I just did, which is to accept all of these, is actually a terrible thing to do. Once you've done it, though, you can cancel it. When you actually get a area, see, look, we've now got a colony here, we can actually start developing stuff on said colony. So that is how you colonize. And if we go back to diplomatic lanes, we've got diplomatic plays. Now, when it loads, diplomatic plays is the militaristic approach to diplomacy. So if you want to conquer a state, you hit that, and then you can choose, oh, I want to take the home countries, or Egypt, or Lancashire. Boom. You can see all the options here. Diplomatic actions is the peaceful approach to diplomacy. So this is where you make trade agreements. So let's make a trade agreement with Russia, for example. Bam. We can choose to bankroll people, and which is an ongoing diplomatic action where one country pays part of its income to another based on the weekly tax revenue of the recipient. This action has a chance each month to generate an obligation towards the bankrolling country. An obligation is like a hook from Crusader Kings 3. If you guys haven't played Crusader Kings 3 before, it's essentially a diplomatic favor which you can call upon. And then we have the cultures, so it shows you all the different cultures that are within our faction, and the religion. On the population tab, you can see the population, you can see them by profession, their political strengths, the culture, religion, you name it. And you can actually change the view to be a box, but I don't know why you would have that, because circle's so much better, in my opinion. And then you go into more detailed lists. You can actually click on your peasants, and you can see where they all are. So you can see French, Catholic, Normandy, Subsistence Farms, Occitan, Catholic Province, Subsistence Farms. Subsistence farms are bad. They're good because they keep your unemployed population employed, but you want to get them gone as soon as you possibly can. And the reason being is they provide you diddly squat. Next we have the journal. This is where we have our essentially like goals that we can do. So here we can survey the Suez Isthmus. So we can go ahead and do that, and we will automatically have this come up here. These are like goals that you can go towards, or goals that will come up and you have to overcome or do whatever. This game, even though it goes to 1936, from 1836 to 1936, you can choose when you end, when you think you want to end. So if you want to play as France and you want to go militaristic, go ahead, take over all of Europe and all of Asia, go ahead, go and do that. That's up to you. Here you have the outliner as well. It shows you all your colonies, your admirals, your generals. It's a quick thing. And then you have a map list, and you can just you see what everyone's opinion of you. And just quickly going back, because I kind of glossed over it, to tell what nations you can colonize. They are the ones that have a border outline, but are white in full. So we can settle in South America, and we can settle in Africa. Now, the ones that are coloured in, so like for Brazil and Grau-Pará, for example, or Peratini, these guys we cannot colonize. These guys are a nation, even a playable nation like Mexico or the United States of America. But wherever they are not filled in, so like for example New Zealand, they can be colonized. And I hate to break it to the game devs, but they've put the Southern Alps too close to the east coast of New Zealand. As being a New Zealander, I should know this. The Alps actually run right along the boundary of the west coast of the South Island. So these areas here, you say, I have an interest in this area, and then you go hit that good old colonize button, and these guys, you can start colonizing them. They will either rebel against it, or they'll accept it. So that's essentially the basics of the game. So we're just going to hit play. Liberate the slaves completed. Oh, nice. Go back to the view that I prefer, which is this beautiful, gorgeous map view. I love it. This is such a gorgeous game. It's the one thing I couldn't stop looking at when I first started playing was just how gorgeous it was. So here we're just essentially just waiting for stuff to happen. What I might do is I may actually start building just a little bit more construction. See little trains running around, but a little bit more advanced than what they would have been in 1836. Now if we go to journal, we can see that since we started playing that we've had a bunch of new stuff come up. So we encourage liberal thought. So we need the intelligentsia to be powerful, they need them to be bolstered, and they're part of the government. Now to do that, we go into politics, and we go to the intelligentsia, click on this little button, and we're going to stop suppressing, and we're going to bolster them. That's how you do it. That's how you bolster a political power. So just to run through it again, you come down here, click on the little go button, brings up their panel, and then you just hit the bolster button. So currently the Suez survey is undergoing their task. There will be pop-ups that come up every so often, and we want to start also do the branching out thing. So what we're going to do as well is we're going to go through most of our different areas and add railway. This game does take a lot of time, I will say that much. There's a lot of time you'll just be sitting here and you're just waiting for stuff to happen, but the game is very entertaining and I have enjoyed playing every minute of it so far. I'm going to do what I did in my Belgian game, and I'm going to play government bugger all. Bam. And because we're not at war, same with the military. Courage liberal thought. Intelligentsia is being bolstered. We need them to become powerful so they can be part, and then make them part of the government. No social security. 4 laws have that. That is our law that we're going to be passing through now. So if we just go back into politics, see this going down. We can only select one at a time. We'll be changing all of this as soon as we possibly can. Bureaucratic shortfall. Okay, so the only way we can get out of that is by building government administration. Raising concerns. The armed forces have expressed their concerns about government decisions clearly favouring the interests of the industrialists. Just have to accept what it is. Right. Trade time. No, not trade time. Cancel some trade time. Let's have a look at our trade overview. that pop-up that came up was just to give me extra migration. If you're wondering what I am doing, I'm currently going through all the trades that we set up when I first introduced the game, just cancelling them all so we can get a bit more bureaucracy. It is costing us in the pocket, but our bureaucracy is coming down, which is good. I believe we have now cancelled almost all. So at the top here you can see how many people are pissed off of the government and how many people love us. Money's turned back around a little bit, that's good. So we're going for poor laws, but we're going to go for the old age pension as soon as we possibly can. One thing I've got to mention before is if you want to increase the amount of speed, or increase the speed of you being able to research stuff, you need to build universities. The only problem with that is if you spam it building universities, you will bankrupt yourself. Universities take money, they don't give money. But the payoff is you get faster technology, research speed. So this game is essentially Hearts of Iron 4, but more detailed, is the best way of describing it, and less war-y. It can be extremely war-y if you're playing a hegemony, like Prussia. Alright, we just had an election. Now what you do is you kind of get the people, you go to reform government. So you cannot have, to form a government, you cannot have anyone that is angry with the government in there. So when they're neutral, even if it's negative, you can actually put them in there. Who else can I chuck in there to increase the legitimacy of this government? Plus 2%, oh boy, let's go with that. Now the differing parties will help enable you pass laws a lot easier. Play for power. Thomas Beauguard, leader of the rural folk, has made a remarkable play for power in the capital in order to secure a spot for the rural folk within the government. However, it's not entirely clear if they should be rewarded for their novel tactics. You know what? Let's just do that. Sometimes they'll give you a tick. It'll show a tick, and that's the way they think they want you to go. And if you don't click on the little pop-up, that's the way it will go automatically. And sometimes you need to go the opposite way of what it's suggesting to actually get what you want, if that makes sense. More government administration so you can get more tax. I think this is how you do it. Oh look, we're back in the money. We have completed the survey. That's awesome. That does slightly undermine the smart folk that we want in power, but it helps pass through the law that we want. And as you can see, we're now in the positives for both money and the bureaucracy, which is excellent. On the fence, leaning Lahej, where's this? So this is the diplomatic play in Arabia, for this is when you're going to declare war. So you can declare a war goal on a certain nation, and then during the diplomatic maneuvers phase, which we're looking at right now, these guys can essentially bid favors to get people into the war to assist them as a ally. And then when it gets to escalation, it's too late to call in anyone else, and you're essentially at war. We can make the Suez Canal, which you can just see the outline of there, but it's not built. Now, for us to settle that, we have to... I think there's two ways we can do this. We may have to take that by force. We will cross that bridge later, whilst we just get our economy out of the poop. As you can see, it did dip into our gold reserves a little bit. So, on the right here, showing what they kind of want to be preserved or enacted, and you can either follow what they say or you can just completely ignore them. I'm ignoring them because they've got low support and radicalism for no social security, because I think everyone's realised, oh, well, that's actually going to be a good thing. Legal guardianship. It has low support. Again, I'm going to ignore it because it just takes rights further away from women, and we don't want that. We want them to have equality in our fonts. So the Catholic Church we cannot put into our government if we go to reform our government because they are unhappy. We have to do stuff that appeases them. But we're not going to worry about that too much because we're going to kick them out of Parliament anyway. Alright, we've got a puppet to do promotion, so he's loved by everyone, so let's just promote him. War profiteering. Will not be ashamed by our profiteering of arms trading. We need money. Oh, we've got a lot of people not happy with us. We need that to go up, not down. Hopefully enacting the poor laws would help solve that problem. Alright, so we've just unlocked Bisma processes. Well, the Bisma process. Now, we're not researching that. That is from another nation researching it, and it's kind of ebbed our way into our society. We're still currently researching human rights. So if we just go into our buildings, because we've now got that new thing, we should be able to swap out our steel mills to the Bisma process. Really, we've only got 2 steel mills? It's not good. That's actually really bad. Enact anachronism. What is that? That is slightly better. I'll do that as soon as our current one's done. We now have poor laws. We now have a welfare payment. So it does hit our pocket and it does hit our bureaucracy, but it does make trade unions a lot more happier with us and hopefully a significant amount much more in terms of, come on game, people happiness. What do they want? They want anachronism. Let's go for it. Oh, got an election in 130 days. Current polls has the Republican Party on top and the Bonapartist Party at the bottom. Whistle stop tour. Fate of the nation depends on that train running on time. That's the way I swing. Now the reason why I am doing the agrarianism is to hopefully placate the poor piece. Don't really have to reform the government, so we can actually ignore that. Got the people in that we needed in. Alright, let's start an expedition to find the source of the Nile, shall we? So the way we do that is we go to diplomatic lens, we go to clear interests, we find the Nile. I do have it in the Nile already. Okay. So why are we unable? Ah, we need to research quinine, of course. And we can acquire the land in Sinai. But we need our GDP to be 50 million, which is currently at 49.7. Blimey. So what we're going to do is we're going to do diplomatic actions. Improve relations. What else can we do? Malaysia River Expedition. Again, we need quinine, quinine, quinine. I guess I know what our next research is going to be. Sure. Defensive pact with the Ottomans. Don't mind if I do. Excellent. That's what I wanted to hear. Get the agrarianism up. Alright, we've just had a native uprising. And I would like to know where that is. Ah, down here. We want Italy, North Africa, mobilize. Will they back down or will they fight us? That is the question. Fractional distillate, oh my gosh, English. Fractional distillation. War of the Sahari has broken out. So as you saw before, we just put our military on. There is a fiery border saying this is the contested thing. And then we just watch it unfold. I'll slow it down just a little bit. So we just advanced there. There we go. The little fort comes up. Oh, we're advancing too fast. But anyway, that's... Oh, there we go. There's a little fort that comes up. The cannons are firing. They shoot at sometimes an enemy fort if the enemy has actually an army. But in this case, we have just taken the entirety of... Promote, because you did good job, sir. Are we at war with anyone else? Make peace. So, I guess we just wait until they run out of peace acceptance? Boom! A law's just passed. Excellent. And we just got hydraulic cones as well. Awesome. Just wait for this war to... Proposed peace deal. Oh, we didn't... Oh, bum. Oh. Oh. Open diplomacy. Truce. Why? Okay, I now know how this works. Yep. Well, I know how to declare war on them. So we're going to do that as soon as we possibly can. Right, laws. Right to assembly. Armed forces opposed. Catholic Church opposed. Petit bourgeois also opposes. Too bad. Bam, we've just unlocked human rights and pharmaceuticals. And technology, I think what we're going to do... Quinine. We're going for quinine. And I think that is where we're going to end this episode. Yeah. So we've had a war. We've seen how that unfolds. As France, you smash because you're militarily higher, though we lost a lot more people than they did. That being said, they didn't have a huge army. But I now know how the peace deals actually work in this game, which I didn't understand before, but I do now. So we got a few colonies on the go. Our economy probably could be doing better if we had less going on at the same time, but it is what it is. And we are slowly improving our relations with the with the Egyptians so that we can build the Suez Canal. It's just a matter of just waiting for stuff to be built so that we can have railway lines running across the entire of the country and complete that mission that is in the journal, which is branching out. But yes, until then, what we're going to be doing is we are going to go on the path of liberalism. So after we've researched quinine, we are going to go for... what was the technology again? We're going to go for feminism, which allows suffrage. And we are going to implement that. Hopefully next time we can declare war on the Sahrawi, so we can capture that all for ourselves and go about industrializing that so we can earn more money, because our money is no longer good, though we now have a lot more loyal people compared to radicals compared to what we had before. But yes, this has been the beginning of our Victoria 3 playthrough. I hope you enjoyed. I've been your host, Sir Firecat, and until next time, take care.